her. And because like I'm a psychopath, I can't just sit on the couch and like support her. I have to now take over. And in my mind, what needs to be done is the kids need to clean up the entire living room, and I need to chase them around the house doing it. I can't breathe, okay? I'm still suffering from pneumonia. I'm on day 3 of antibiotics, but this seemed like a good idea to me. So I'm like throwing the Christmas tree outside. I'm like chasing the kids around the house and making them pick up all their Christmas toys. I'm cracking whips, kicking ass, and chewing bubblegum. And I'm all out of fucking bubblegum, baby. All right?
Jeez.
And then I collapsed on the couch. And then that's not even the best part. The best part is I started to have like something between an anxiety attack and overwhelming depression because I suddenly don't have the lung capacity, of the fit 40-year-old man I used to be. And so my wife throws me out of the living room. She's like, I can't handle this. Get out of here. You idiot. You have pneumonia. What did you think? You were Wolverine? You're going to just instantly heal? So she sent me to my room. And then I had a nosebleed.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, you're falling apart.
My nose bled profusely. What's funny about that is later on.
That's not funny. That's
no, the real funny part here is what's funny about all that is as I'm telling my best friend this story, several hours later, I got kind of emotional and had another nosebleed.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. So that was day 1 of 2017.
Gosh,
for me.
man. That is not good. I'd be worried about my own health at that point. And as soon as I started, parts of my, once orifices start to bleed, then yeah, okay, we've got to go.
Well, at least you didn't have a bloody fistula like the one guy we had at the jail yesterday did.
What I've heard of what a fistula is.
Yeah. It's basically like soft tissue in your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
gross.
Does not sound fun.
Good night, folks.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, nosebleed compared to a bloody fistula. I'll take the nosebleed.
Take the yes, sir.
What's funny about that is the nurse
practitioner
didn't quite know how to document it, so she almost said something to the effect of raw bloody taint.
What?
And we were like, taint is not a technical word, madam.
Madam.
Like one of the nurses gave her the technical term for it, but yeah, you can't write raw bloody taint unless you're writing some sort of a Harlequin romance novel.
Yeah, it's gonna be fan fiction or something.
That is a terrible romance novel. What?
It's the name of my new death metal band that I'm forming with Jesse.
Oh, the Raw
and Robert Cooper.
No, man.
we are now known as Raw Bloody Taint.
Gosh, not good.
No.
Well, the show has begun on probably one of the craziest notes I have ever began a podcast on.
You're welcome.
Brought to you by Mark Radler.
Good night, folks.
It's the 2017 What the Hell's Going On special.
Raw Bloody Taints, that's what's going on.
Source material. All right, so, okay. We'll get focused here. Source material tonight.
I don't think I can now.
Yeah,
I'll be good.
That has been thrown out the window. We are doing our 2017 beginning. I guess I think it actually had been close to 6 months since I last did one of these. I thought I was doing one every 3 months. Apparently, that's not the case. It's every 6 months. Because the last one I did, I think, was in June or July. So here it is, our 6 months later, Whatcha Readin special, first one for 2017. And my guests this evening at this time are Mark Radulich of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Sir, how's your taint?
My taint is fine. It's in one piece. My lungs are getting better.
Good.
The whole point of that story was I'm done with my steroid pills, but I needed the steroid shot yesterday. But I also went back on my diet, which means I'm taking an appetite suppressant, which is an amphetamine. Now I was told the steroid and the amphetamine would not, produce sort of the Ultimate Warrior, I'm going to die the Tuesday after Monday Night Raw reaction, but it's not something I'd like to repeat often. I'm just not gonna keep shooting steroids. Is my point. Really, the whole point of that story was I can be a little intense at times, with or without drugs. Have you noticed that, Jesse, about me?
The drugs definitely help, I believe.
Don't.
But hey, that's just my observations.
It's a trap. Don't answer.
How do I get out of this?
You don't.
Ronnie Adams.
You're done.
Are we ready? Are we ready for plugs yet?
Ronnie Adams. Screaming Boy Podcast. Sir.
I have nothing to add to this.
No, you have to come in with an intro of some sorts. How you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you? Doing a lot better than what some people are, I guess.
Yeah. Wow.
Better than you should.
I tell you what. Well, first off, I want to thank you guys. Mark, this is your first, I think, guest appearance for Whatcha Readin, and I noticed that.
Am I only?
Yeah.
Am I bad after this?
I'm putting you on some kind of a list. I don't know which one that will be, but you're there. So I guess real easily. I mean, the first question out of my mouth, Mark Radulich, it's 2017. I know you've been picking up comic books quite a bit here recently. So right now, let's start off with one of the most important books that you're reading right now that you definitely wanted to be on here to talk about. Which one is that?
Okay. Let me put my serious face on.
Serious?
All right. I picked up a lot of books in preparation for the 87 different podcasts I'm forcing you to do at gunpoint this year. But I put those off to the side to read them closer to the date we're going to talk about them. And then there's my pile of stuff that we're not going to do shows on that I could start reading now. And in some cases reread because I've had them sitting around for a while and I've just forgotten what I've read.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, the very first thing I want to talk about, Lunatic. This is the 2016 story Moon Knight comic when it was Marvel Now. And this is brought to you by writer Jeff Lemire, artist Greg Smallwood, and color artist Jordi Belair. I don't know who any of these people are. But this is Moon Knight number 1 through 5, collected edition. And again, it's subtitled Lunatic. Manufactured between October 7th of 2016 and November 14th of 2016. So what this is, and I really didn't know that much about Moon Knight to begin with. Moon Knight's not a character I read when I was reading Marvel comics in the 90s.
Okay.
Just walking around, there's a couple of comic book stores here in Tampa that I've that I frequent, and I happen to take my kids into one particular comic book store, and just browsing around looking for some new things to pick up. And it was actually one of the recommended books from the staff at the comic book store. I had also heard that there'd been some articles written about it, that this particular version of Moon Knight was highly rated among those that read it, among those that that are really into comic books. So I figured, all right, the concept of the schizophrenic superhero was very appealing to me. And as we've talked about in the past, my profession is within the mental health milieu. I deal with schizophrenics in the jail every day and twice on Sundays. So anything that really and I really do enjoy the mental health field. So anything that brings that aspect into another aspect of my life, like reading comic books, is something I'm going to naturally gravitate to. And that's what this is. As you can see, the front cover, he's got, the straitjacket on and everything else with the Moon Knight symbol on his forehead. And so do you want me to kind of like plot synopsis this for you, or do you want to just kind of jump in with questions? What do you want to know?
First off, you mentioned that you had not heard about this character back in the 90s, or at least you hadn't read about him. You knew he was, right. You knew he existed.
Yeah.
Ronnie, Moon Knight, what are your takes on the character? Have you ever read anything with the guy? You enjoyed anything with him in it?
Just here and there, I've read stuff. He was always a secondary character in the stuff that I read, or a background character or anything like that. I always took him as a Batman kind of character, Batman kind of superhero. I never really delved too far deep into it until I read Lunatic. And then that's, started doing a little bit of the background and all that. And I didn't realize that he was supposed to be, an actual lunatic. So.
Well, you got to think it's kind of neat how, and I don't know if this plays into the book because I've not read this at all. And I could be hard pressed to tell you if I've read any Moon Knight. The Moon Knight that I'm maybe the most that I've read was probably in the 90s when, or maybe it was 2000s when Stephen Platt was drawing them. I can't even remember who was writing at that point in time. But anyway, it's funny how, when you think of lunatic and then lunacy, there's the Luna correlation with the moon. So I don't know if that plays. If that happens in the book, what do you think of that? I drew a line between two
the
things.
Moon.
Anyway, Mark Radulich. So what's it about? I mean, give me an idea of what this is about.
Right. In summary, and I'm going to try to do a Robert Winfrey in 50 words or less here.
Okay.
What we have is a paranoid Nope. What we have is a paranoid schizophrenic currently in what I assume is a state mental hospital, and he believes he has multiple personalities. I guess you could also call it a dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder. You can just kind of all put that under the heading of schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is basically disorganized thinking. There are different types of schizophrenia: the paranoid type, catatonia. But without going into a big, large lecture of psychotic disorders, here you have a guy who has these different personalities. One of which is this hero, Moon Knight. He's subjected to abuse by these bully orderlies, and we get a lot of exposition through Dr. Ammett, who is his treating psychiatrist, who tells him, you are an orphan, you have been here since you were 12, you invented this Moon Knight character to cope with the loss of your parents, etc., etc., etc. So it's kind of back and forth between it's sort of a back and forth between her trying to help him deal with these various identities that he's allegedly created, and then him being bullied and tortured by these two orderlies. Over the course of the book, we're introduced to other characters in the state hospital who reveal themselves to be allies of his, and you get some inner monologue of him talking to this Egyptian character. What's his name? I have it right in front of me. So there's a voice that speaks to him. It's like I said, it's this Egyptian character.
Is it Khonshu?
Khonshu.
Okay.
Yes, Khonshu. Yeah. So Khonshu is sort of guiding him, instructing him. He's sort of, like a at least at first, kind of a Yoda in this thing. He tells him that, the world has been set to destruction by Seth, who is one of the Egyptian gods. And the book sort of oscillates between the stuff going on in his head and the abuse he's suffering in the hospital. Where this all leads to basically is eventually Khonshu convinces him that he needs to escape, tries it once, fails. Second time around, he has his allies to help him within the hospital, and they all break out. And now what you see is you have the first perspective, which you're led to believe is the real world. It's the orderlies look like normal human beings. The doctor looks like a normal doctor. But then you see the Moon Knight perspective, which is the orderlies have these like dog heads, and Dr. Ammon is actually Amut, which is some sort of like Egyptian god. And this is all an elaborate setup to basically keep Moon Knight captured. He's not really in a hospital. He's in this other like dimension. And eventually he just sort of gives into the Moon Knight persona, and that's now all he sees is the world underneath these masks. So he starts decking. He decks the Doctor, who's a woman, but and again, we're dealing with another book where a girl gets punched.
George Lucas is everywhere.
He's beating the shit out of the orderlies, and he gets everybody out of the hospital. The world, and then now New York City is covered in sand. And basically, what's really cool about this book is you don't know if he's really hallucinating, or it's magic, or the world really is beset upon destruction by this god, this Egyptian god. Mm-hmm. By the end of the book, it's revealed, I think, that Khonshu actually like set him up, and is actually. I'm trying to skip to the end here. I feel like Khonshu did all this and manipulated him out of like secondary gain. Yeah, like he finds that Seth is actually imprisoned, and he's like, Khonshu actually did this. Yeah, what he told you. Is that what he told you? And you followed a puppet on it, like a puppet on a string. None of this is my doing. This is Seth talking. He did this. He enslaved me. Who did this? Well, who do you think? And then it's funny. He actually, Moon Knight got attacked by Moon Knight. It's actually a great panel. He's like, "Who are you? I'm Moon Knight, you lunatic." So we go this. So later on, we go to another panel where there's Moon Knight bleeding in a chair, and he's like, "Who are you really?" He's like, "Well, you know who I am." And he pulls off the mask, and it's Khonshu.
Oh. Okay.
He says, "I needed you, my son. I needed you, and you came to me against all odds. You were a loyal servant, but your mind is broken. You know this." He's basically trying to, I guess, him to give up his soul, give up his body, so that Khonshu can live through him. And he resists, and he escapes. He says, I will never let you have me." And he like falls down these stairs, and he's unconscious, and he wakes up. And when he wakes up, he's in like a new reality. In this reality, he's a producer on a Marvel film.
What?
And he's with Marlene, who is his girlfriend, who's in the movie.
What?
And that's where it ends.
Really?
So he wakes up in this weird, like, other universe where he's living with this hot chick, and he's a producer on a movie. And that's where we lead into the next book.
Nice.
Which will be out in June.
Now you're already psyched for for the second.
Yeah. No, Josh Calandra says it's shit, but I'm gonna read it anyway and give it a. I'm gonna stick with this because again, I don't think I could read too much of this sort of thing. I think one book is enough.
Yeah.
For me to kind of get a really good. Like, I don't want to go out and see the movie Split, okay? That would be too much for me. But a nice little book that takes a look at one particular person where you don't know if his perspective is reliable or not is really fun for me. By the way, that's a technical term. And really, it's we call him an unreliable historian. Somebody whose perspective is either skewed due to psychosis or altered mental state or drugs or whatever. The technical term we would use for them in documentation would be unreliable historian. So we have an unreliable narrator here, an unreliable perspective, and one book that deals with that kind of storytelling is quite enough for me, and I really, really enjoyed this.
Cool. Well, so for a new book, new character, man, dude, I'm glad to see that you're actually enjoying something and hopping in there and finding some new stuff from Marvel. Not your punch in the face, rage out Hulk stuff here. We're talking Moon Knight psychotic stuff.
It's not even like the overly like political Avengers stuff either. Yeah. For a while I feel like that's all Marvel was doing. It was like here's 600 Avengers teams, here's 800 X-Men teams, go. Mm-hmm. And it just felt like it was a lot of the same stuff. and it really turned me away from Marvel for a while, where I was like, well, I'm only going to read about one or two characters that I really like, because the rest of this is hot garbage. I think when I walked in the comic book, and I'm just like, why are there 72 Avengers titles? What the hell is Avengers Academy? Oh, fuck this. So,
Academy wasn't that bad.
So I'm not saying it was. I just
ignore.
But it was nice to just sort of take this one little corner of the Marvel universe that's very focused on this one character and just enjoy a well-told story.
Very good, very good. For anybody that's watching live right now, you may see we do have a fourth person in here, and right now he's working on getting some audio issues sorted out, so we may be able to hear him here pretty soon. We may not, but that is Cliff Barnes from the Kapow podcast. So I'll properly introduce him here once he's able to get everything in there. Or just give me a holler, Cliff. Hop in here and just hey. And then we'll definitely pay attention to you. But until then,
can you hear me right now?
I can hear you right now.
Oh, awesome.
What's going on, man? I'm glad you got to get on here.
Yeah, it's not a lot. Just got back from unfortunately a funeral home. My wife's uncle passed away, but
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it sucks, but I've never had to wait in line for 2 hours just for a viewing.
Wow, he must have been a pretty popular guy.
Apparently so. He knew everybody, I guess. It's not a very big town, so.
Well, man. So, welcome to Source Material again. You had the opportunity to be on the show there. It was a few months back when Ronnie got back from his vacation in Disney.
Of course.
Yep. So now. I keep getting the title wrong. What is it that it's called, Cliff? Dream Engineer? Is that the name of it?
Travel consultant. That works. But yeah.
I like the hyped up title.
Wait,
you like the dream designer title.
There it is.
Yeah.
Wait, are you an Imagineer for Disney?
Not
I wish.
I was like, really? Because I got to get my wife to talk to you. We just got to stop the podcast then.
Yeah, any time we'll plan a trip.
Mark, I was gonna say, Mark, you make it to Disney World. I mean, geez Louise, I see pictures all the time, man.
Yeah, we go at least once a month. I mean, we've been going a lot lately because it was my daughter's birthday and all that, and and there was Christmas break where we went a couple of times. But yeah, we have annual passes, so we go a lot.
Right.
And we live in
right
Tampa,
now,
so it's just down the road.
Sure. Right now they're running that first time that Epcot's International Festival of the Arts looks quite interesting right now, so I'd like to be down there myself.
Cliff does a podcast called the Mickey Bars Podcast, and it is, it's all things Disney.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
my wife and I. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying at the end of the show, please link me to your Disney podcast because I'd like to hear it.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
So, okay, well, Cliff, let's go ahead and we just talked Moon Knight, Volume 1. So I don't know if you've had the chance to get in there and read any Moon Knight. I know you're a DC guy. I've heard you on the Kapow podcast, and we've talked in person plenty of times. Sure. So let's swing it on your way, man. What have you been reading? What's one book that you really want to talk about that you've enjoyed so far this year? Or I guess so far since what you're reading right now.
Yeah, well, right now the biggest thing I'm on is the He-Man and Thundercats crossover.
Ooh,
nice.
I've heard a lot about that.
Yeah, I'm a kid of the '80s, so I am just loving this thing right now. And it's been great. I haven't had anything He-Man and Thundercats in my life for a long time, and suddenly this thing just appeared out of DC Comics, and it has been. We've talked about this on my podcast. I'm not a big. Well, as a kid, I wasn't a big mixture universes guy. Star Wars went with Star Wars. G.I. Joe went with G.I. Joe. Thundercats went with Thundercats. I didn't cross over. So this, for me, was a little bit out of the norm. but the way they did it, I'm loving it. It just the story they've merged so well between the heroes and the villains and the way they interact. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fluff. It's a lot of violence, but it's been great.
When you say violence, I mean, are we talking like main characters getting killed or something? Or
Yeah.
really?
What?
By the first issue, I don't want to spoil a whole lot, but by
Spoil
the
away.
issue number 1, what? Go ahead.
No. I'm saying like I want to know who gets killed because I want to know if I'm going to read this or not.
I'm already adding this to my wish list when the paperback comes out.
Yeah, by the first issue, we get one of our main villains ends up taken out by another villain. There's a big fight between. Well, I won't say that there's a big fight, but there is some sneaky cahoot thing going on between Skeletor and Mumra and the ancient spirits of evil.
Wow, man,
Sounds awesome.
yeah, dude. I've been. Let's see. It's you. I think you mentioned it. Pat Mullen has mentioned it. I know about a month or so ago. Justin Thomas, guest of the show, he's been like, we've got to cover this at some point. So he's really been wanting to discuss the book as well. And so I've heard nothing but good things so far. So I'm 80s properties, man.
Two things.
Yes.
Two things, Jeff. Echoes on the Echo, I think, is on your end when you talk.
Okay.
And the He-Man vs. Thundercats collected volume 1 through 5 comes out July 4th, 2017. It is on my wish list now.
Yeah, Ronnie, I know you're a big a big He-Man fan.
Oh yeah.
At least you were as a child, and it's got all the characters we love in it so far.
Good.
I mean, it really does. It's thrown. I'm just looking at the art, and the art's really good in it. And I'm just looking at it, just picking out like, oh man, I remember that guy, and oh my gosh, that guy over there. And on both sides of it, even with Thundercats too, there were some. If you remember the mutants, they threw them in there, and Slide and all those characters, and I was trying to remember some of their names, and I had to look them up. But I mean, that was half the fun for me right there.
Can I ask you a question, sir? Just about comics in general, because you're speaking to what seems to be a trend now with comic books, and I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I saw that coming out closer to the summer, there's Green Lantern, Planet of the Apes crossover. Mm-hmm. There's a Planet of the Apes Tarzan crossover coming out shortly.
What?
I actually wanted Jesse and I to talk about that for Planet of the Apes week, and then it turns out there's not enough days in the week for me to do it because I'm going on a cruise, so we abandoned that plan. Yes, Tarzan versus the Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes, Green Lantern, He-Man, Thundercats. Is this a growing trend to generate sales within the comic book industry, or is it's just kind of a happy accident that we have all these crossovers happening?
Well, if it's a growing trend, I'm all aboard. that Green Lantern and Planet of the Apes, I saw that the other day and I was like, yes, please, yes.
Yeah, I was excited too.
And co-host of one of my podcasts, Jordan Lowe, that owns Asylum Comics here in Marietta. I know Jordan and his brother Jared are huge fans of the Planet of the Apes movies. So if I know Jordan, this will be something he's getting really excited about. He'll probably order some extra books on this one.
Mark,
okay.
Have you ever Star Trek versus X-Men? You know, that came out, I think, in the 90s, I believe. Maybe as early 2000s. Star Trek, well, I say versus the X-Men. Star Trek and the X-Men. There was apparently a crossover, which I have 2 copies of. That I don't know if I still haven't read it yet. It was one of the things that I was going to actually cover on this show. I'm right there. Crossovers are some of my favorite things to see. Last year I did Marvel versus DC, which was probably one of the most epic crossovers ever. You know, we watch our 2 biggest comic book companies go at it. But when you take 80s properties like He-Man and Thundercats, and there's another one you're reading also, Cliff, that I don't know if you wanted to talk about tonight, but there's like it just ended, right? Like didn't you say the crossover has ended, and this was on the IDW side of things, right?
Yeah, you're talking about Hasbro's Revolution.
Yeah, and
Which-
real quick, kind of explain what that's about.
Well, Hasbro has brought together all the properties being Transformers, G.I. Joe, the Micronauts, ROM, the Space Knight, and Mask. And I thought originally when they announced it they were going to have the Visionaries in there too, but that didn't pan out. Apparently they couldn't work them in or something, or they're down the line perhaps. But yeah, so they did this major promotion. They called it the Revolution, and brought in kind of started with ROM and a little bit of the Micronauts, and then eased into the Transformers, Mask with Miles Mayhem and Matt Tracker, and kind of rebooted all of that.
I loved
Well,
Mask.
Yeah, I did too. And they kind of kept the Transformers continuity that they had been doing with it, or continuity as we call it.
Yeah, continuity.
So, as we would say on our podcast. But they kept all that stuff and then kind of gradually pushed everything else into it. And I liked it for the most part. The only problem I had was the ending of the Revolution really was a little lackluster. It kind of just did a comic book thing, as in, we're not going to give you a real great ending. We're just going to give you a little bit and then push you into a whole under 5 other different books out there, being Transformers and G.I. Joe and the Micronauts and ROM, and continued the story that way. I think they continued it into something that, I forget what it's called, maybe the Revolutionaries or something like that. I'm not sure. That hasn't came out yet, but they did the whole one shots with Mask and Transformers and all that with it. Of course, I suckered into buying a bunch of those, but.
So a couple of things on that. I think it's Universal who puts up the Transformers movies. A little ways back, they actually said that they are trying, and maybe I can find the article for some specifics, but I think they said they were trying to build a interconnected cinematic universe with the Transformers, Mask, and some of these other properties that you mentioned in Revolution. And the other thing is, hey, Jesse, what are we doing for Transformers Week?
No.
I think it might be happening. I believe I mentioned we need to do IDW's Revolution for that week. It's a possibility we may be able to talk Cliff into becoming a guest on that episode. So, yes, exactly. Was there any other books that you wanted to touch on, Cliff, before I move over to Ronnie? Are you here for the duration, or do you got a short amount of time?
No, I'm here for a little bit. That's no problem.
All right, we're going to come back.
I can hang out.
All right. So Ronnie Adams, then you're up next, buddy. What you reading, sir?
Recently I haven't had much of a chance to get really anything new. I'm hopefully going to catch up sooner than later. But I have been keeping up with the new Archie series.
Mark Waid?
Yes. And
is it Fiona Staples that's penciling that?
She did for a little bit, but
okay.
They've changed artists. But
he seems to be in demand, so I would figure she probably wouldn't be there very long.
Right, and it's the art style really hasn't changed much at all. It seems that they've got people that they kind of complement one another. So I've been reading that. I've also, as always, been keeping up with. Let's talk a little bit about Archie, and then I guess we can come back to it because I don't have much.
What appeals to you, sir? When we had Josh Calandris on here, which I had to ask him. I said, "This is a time where I wish time travel was possible, so I could take this podcast and send it to him 2 years in the past and have him laugh at himself because the man's reading Archie now. He's
just
amazing.
mostly reading. I think he's just reading the Jughead series.
Oh, the Jughead series. That's right.
But the reason I like the Archie series is I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for any kind of the CW teen drama. It's so bad that it's good. The new art style has been really cool in the way they're approaching the Archie, Betty, and Veronica love triangle. It's a lot different than it was when than we know Archie comics, but they're not both pining after him, but there is a bit of a love triangle there. Betty actually goes on to find another boyfriend after she and Archie break up, and Veronica moves into when Veronica moves in town, Archie falls for her. But you can still tell that Archie and Betty are. It's just all that, like I said, that teen drama bullcrap. That for some reason Friday Night Lights and all that stuff I got involved in. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a football TV show, and then all of a sudden, I'm interested in which quarterback the girl's going to go with and everything. It's silliness, but it's a guilty pleasure, and it's well done. I mean, the art has been phenomenal. Mark Waid is a great writer, and I think that's what really shocked Calandris, because Mark Waid, just look what all he's done. I mean, my goodness. He's worked on Captain America, Daredevil, The Flash, Irredeemable, Kingdom Come. But let's see, what has he done most recently as a writer? Oh gosh, I can't remember.
I'd go to Wikipedia, but then my screen share would be all screwed up. Mark Radlich, Archie comics. You ever read? I mean, did you ever read anyone use a kid, like the old funny books or?
No, but can I read you this list of Hasbro movies that's coming out?
Certainly.
Hey, thanks for paying attention, Mark.
So we all know about Transformers: The Last Night,
Okay.
and I know I mentioned My Little Pony the movie. It's gonna be an animated movie.
You did.
I know I'm gonna hit my daughter that. So there's an untitled Bumblebee movie coming up in 2018.
Yeah.
Transformers 6 in 2019. G.I. Joe 3, and all of these I'm going to read you are to be announced. G.I. Joe 3, Hungry Hungry Hippos,
What?
Tonka,
Hungry Hippos.
Tonka, as in Tonka Trucks, Magic the Gathering, which is being produced by 20th Century Fox, Play-Doh,
Sweet Lord.
again 20th Century Fox.
Play-Doh?
Wait,
Yeah.
That better
Are
be
they-
like a documentary.
are they like?
Nope.
They're like, oh, if Lego can do it, we
Is this
can
going to
do
have
it
a plot?
too?
I can click on it, but I'd rather just keep reading this list.
Go ahead.
I don't know what Beyblade is, but it's B-A-B-E-Y Blade.
That's a toy.
Okay.
That's a toy. Mhm.
Monopoly, which is Lionsgate. Dungeons and
who's gonna
Dragons.
play or what is his name? Mr. Moneybags or Papal Moneybags?
I hope I hope they get Donald Trump.
Got all money bags.
Please get Donald Trump, and please do it while he's still in office.
Oh wow.
Dungeons and Dragons from Warner Brothers. Candyland from Columbia Pictures. It's a Happy Madison production. Oh, this might be Adam
boy.
Sandler and Kevin James. Action Man, Clue, and Furby, which is being produced by the Weinstein Company.
I think
All right.
out of all those, Play-Doh is boggling my mind. I don't even know how.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't really know.
So in April 2nd, 2015, 20th Century Fox announced to work on a movie with Hasbro Studios and Sherman Entertainment producing, Jason Micallef writing, and Paul Fee directing from his production company, Faco. So yes, they are working on a Play-Doh movie.
That's crazy.
This is the world we live in, people.
Archie
Anyway,
Comics.
I brought this up because this is the Hasbro cinematic universe they're working on. It's
It's a
G.I.
cinematic universe. Are we going to have?
Yeah, I got this. I got what I said wrong. First of all, it's Paramount that's putting out the Transformers movies.
so
but,
G.I. Joe is going to exist in the same universe as Mask, Transformers, and Play-Doh.
Okay, no. Here's what they're saying: the properties in the movieverse, okay, the Hasbro cinematic universe are G.I. Joe, Micronauts, Visionaries, Mask, and Rom the Space Knight. A writer's room was organized to develop a creative roadmap. On April 21st, 2016, The Hollywood Reporter reported that Michael Chabon, Brian K. Vaughan, Nicole Perman, Lindsay Beer, Chio Coker, John Francis Daly, and Jonathan Goldstein, Joe Robert Cole, Jeff Pinkner, Nicole Rigel, and I'm getting out of breath reading this list. Genevieve Robertson has joined the writer's room. And then on November 4th, 2016, the Weinstein Company announced a Furby movie. You're welcome.
And then they all promptly quit.
Brian K. Vaughan?
Yeah.
I mean, John Michael Daly.
I don't know that one.
He's a good writer.
Is he okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if to be excited or depressed. I mean, really, that is a eclectic list of properties.
I believe the phrase you're looking for is "Damn you, Hollywood."
Yes. I expect coverage, Mark Radulich, on Damn You Hollywood for every single one of them.
There's going to be. Every one of those movies will be reviewed, and there'll be a comic book attached to it.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
There you go. All right. So Archie Comics, anything else you wanted to talk about that Ronnie Adams there before we...
Well, no. My thunder has been stolen.
Well, you ain't competing with Plato the movie. I'm sorry.
No, I know that, and I'm really sad.
Well, let's swing it back
Now the CW.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The CW has the upcoming Riverdale.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Teen drama show coming out. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's coming out soon.
You know, I'm keeping my cable provider just for that. Actually,
Oh, come on.
no, I'm not.
Oh, I was going to say, dude, jeez.
Walking
Well,
Dead's in
I'm
there
sure.
too.
This will be available on that new CW app. I'm sure, like all
Oh
of their shows.
yeah, that's true.
That's how I watched The Flash.
Yeah, that app's actually pretty handy. We got a Roku and use that quite a bit to catch up. Do they have a limit that they set? Is it like the last 5?
I haven't had any problems with it.
Or is it always like any episode?
I think they expire after a while.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I couldn't remember because usually we catch them shortly afterwards, and I never go back and look.
Yeah, I'm not real sure.
Okay. All right. Well, Mark Radulich, I know you got a second book you'd like to talk to us about that you're reading. What's this next book?
All right. I picked this up last year, shortly after that wonderfully written, really tightly scripted, well thought out movie that just made billions for Warner Brothers. Of course, I'm talking about Suicide Squad.
Sure.
So after walking out of Suicide Squad and trying to fight off the urge to slit my wrists,
I take it he didn't like the movie.
I mean, I was entertained, but it's horribly written. It was just a disaster of a movie. Warner Brothers, you are impressive in your stupidity, incompetence. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, there we go.
If you'll recall, Jesse, shortly after Suicide Squad, I was ranting and raving about the movie they should have made, and that movie was Batman: Mad Love. If they really wanted to, if somebody at Warner Brothers was like, who's hot and all the guys want to fuck? Harley Quinn. And that's what they said. I was at the meeting.
Jesus.
That she sells a lot of comic books, right? She'll bring the boys into the theaters. Let's get Harley Quinn in a movie. They shouldn't have gone with Suicide Squad. They should have done her origin story, which they tried to shove into Suicide Squad, and it didn't quite work very well. They really just should have gone with the original Mad Love story that was featured in the Batman animated series. Well, that story was then transcribed into a comic book and then collected with a bunch of other comic books, and turned into this graphic novel called Batman, Mad Love, and Other Stories. This is by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm. It collects. Hang on. It collects the Batman Adventures Mad Love, the Batman Adventures Annual 1 and 2, Batman Adventures Holiday Special 1, Adventures in the DC Universe 3, Batman Black and White 1, the Batman Adventures Dangerous Dames and Demons, Batgirl Adventures 1, Batman Gotham Adventures 10, and Batman Adventures 3. These all came out in the 90s, from like 1994 through 2003. I mostly bought it just for the mad love story, and it really is. This actually won awards, this thing. Very, very highly touted, very well liked. The episode itself, which I watched on YouTube, really was amazing. And if this could have been turned into a movie and extended out a little bit more, fleshed out a little bit more, really focused on the pillars of the story being told here, this would have been a perfect Batman movie and a great way to bring Harley Quinn into into the culture outside of comic book fans. I'm not going to get into a whole thing on Suicide Squad. Go listen to Damn You Hollywood review of that for our argument over that movie. But suffice to say, basically, the story is, in summary, is Harley Quinn is trying to get the Joker to pay attention to her. She's just in love with him. She has visions of them having children together. It's a very, very cute panel, actually. There's a little Harley Quinn little girl. Nope. There's a little Harley Quinn little girl and a little Joker boy, and he's chasing her, and the girl one's got a hatchet in the hand, and the other one's got a poison flower, and the little Harley is yelling, "Mommy, Joker's trying to poison me." And you have Joker as the daddy sitting in an easy chair, and these are all in Harley's mind. This is all in Harley's mind. But the Joker is obsessed with Batman. And so there's this whole like thing about her trying to get his attention, which doesn't work, and he's just as abusive to her and neglectful as ever. So she decides that the only way for the Joker to give her the love and attention she wants from him is for her to take one of his plans and fix it so that it does in fact kill the Batman. One of the other points of the book is it shows through flashback how she came to be Harley Quinn, which is somewhat covered in Suicide Squad and somewhat true to the story. But like I said, in this version, basically they show the Joker in therapy sessions with her, and he tells her the story, and she becomes infatuated with him, and eventually he like manipulates her into letting him out of Arkham and all of that, and she becomes his henchman, as seen in Batman the animated series. So the Joker, on the other hand, is sort of having a crisis of faith. He's had all these plans. Now, this version of the Joker, if you've ever watched the TV show, this is the one that's the sort of the mad genius Joker. He just has all these elaborate plans a la Cesar Romero. But he's like a cross between the Cesar Romero Joker and the Jack Nicholson Joker, where he's like one part comedian, one part performance artist. And all of these schemes are these elaborate, quote unquote, jokes that are supposed to be deadly and funny at the same time. So this is a really fun interpretation of the Joker, not the Juggalo Joker that they were trying to do in Suicide Squad. This one, it's pretty layered and interesting. It's also voiced by Mark Hamill, the second best Joker in history. So anyway,
second,
yeah, wow. I'm gonna go ahead and put Keith Ledger over him.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger, rather.
Okay.
We can debate that another time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to debate it.
So, long story short, too late. She takes one of his plans that never worked because they couldn't get the piranhas to smile. And she's like, but if we hang the victim upside down, from his perspective, the piranhas will be smiling. And so it's, I think it was called, like, the blueprint says it's called, like, Death by 1,000 Bites or something like that. Or by 1,000 Smiles or some shit. So she kidnaps the Batman. She actually succeeds in getting him into this trap. She's got him above the piranhas. And Batman says to her, "This is all well and good, but he'll never believe you killed me." So she calls the Joker in a very funny panel. He's like, "You've got who hung up where?" And just goes running down to find them, and fucking throws Harley out the window when he finally catches her. Yeah, just knocks the bitch out right out the window. Oh God, I got to go to the page. Yeah, so like a crazed Joker just kicks open the door, and she's like, "Hi, Puddin'," and he fucking backhands her across the room.
Dang.
She's on the ground, like, "What the hell, man?" Actually, what she says is, "What Puddin'? I don't understand. Don't you want to finally get rid of the Batman?" And he's like, it only works if I do it. It's like, but it's your plan. He's like, yeah, but I have to be the one to do it. You taught. So he's like ripping up the blueprints. I mean, this is the picture of a domestic violence in action.
She is a tragic character.
It really is. So like he's ready to murder this girl. She's got a swordfish in her hand. He takes it from her, and she's like, you always, so the line here is, you always take shots from folks who just don't get the joke. He hits her with the swordfish. She flies backwards and goes out the window, falls several stories into a garbage heap.
Ugh.
And that's the last we see of her until the very last panel. The rest of this is Batman and the Joker fighting. But yeah, the crux of this story is her and her tragic love affair with this psychopath.
Yeah.
And how she comes the closest to ever killing the Batman. And in the final couple of panels, she's just, broken and she's wrapped up like a mummy, basically. And she's sort of feeling sorry for herself. And she's like, I always picked the wrong guy. I should never have done this. And she's looking very forlorn and sorrowful. And then she looks and she sees a single rose in a vase with a card from the Joker that says, "Feel better soon." And she says,
come on.
"It felt like a kiss." And she has crazy eyes again. Finish.
I'm telling you, there are many stories out there written about Harley Quinn, and she's such a damaged girl. But the problem, not to say the problem, but the way that a lot of people write her is she's a
wackadoo.
Yeah. I mean, she's crazy. She's too crazy and she doesn't notice it. She has no idea. We covered, what was it, Ronnie? What was the series of comics that we covered with Teasley?
Harley Quinn.
Was it that? Mark, were you part of that?
Yeah, it was Harley Quinn Volume 1.
Okay.
Volume 1,
All right.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyway, just again, showing you, but Batman Mad Love, I agree with you. It would have been a great way to bring her into the cinematic universe for sure. Great. It would have been a premise of a great movie. Cliff, do you have any thoughts on Harley Quinn, Batman Adventures, Harley Quinn Mad Love? Anything you'd like to add?
I really like the Batman the Animated Series back in the day. And I'm the same way. To me, this Harley Quinn was always better than what we had the New 52 or beyond that. Mm-hmm. And what they did in Suicide Squad was really the New 52. That was still happening when that movie went into production. Of course, by the time it came out, the New 52 was kind of a thing of the past, and it was confusing. So I would have also I'm still waiting for a live action adaptation of something around the Batman the Animated Series to come along. It has such a great fan base of grown adults now that grew up on that, much the way we're talking about He-Man and Thundercats. Mm-hmm. And the Harley Quinn is a character that there are very few DC characters that have come along in the last really 30 years that have made a big impact, that have been likable or not likable in a good way. My favorite DC Comics character, it sounds silly, has always been Booster Gold, because I got on board with that at a great time when the JLI and all that was happening. So a character like Booster, a character like the new Blue Beetle, Harley Quinn are just a few that I can name that are actually significant in DC Comics these days. Most of them aren't around very long. Nobody takes a real interest. They're not written very well. They don't have they're not very, they don't have a lot of depth to them, for me usually. So anything with Harley is always going to be popular nowadays, but but this is really was the Harley Quinn that I grew to love before any of this other nonsense came along.
Honestly, she's probably one of the biggest female characters to come out of the '90s that was created. I mean, especially female villains. Ronnie, can you name Ronnie? Could you name any female villains off the top of your head that Marvel or DC that are as popular as Harley Quinn?
Catwoman, Black Cat, Poison Ivy, that are popular or known.
Well, I can see all those being argued.
Well, they're not as popular. I mean, because now Harley Quinn. I mean, my goodness.
Shoot for ones that were created from the '90s up, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Because it's kind of tough to come up with stuff like that.
Well, I know with Marvel they have the Spider-Gwen stuff or the new Ms. Marvel. I know those are popular characters now. Squirrel Girl. I don't know how long has she been around.
She's been around, I think, since the '90s, but she didn't. Her popularity just, exploded here recently.
Yeah. So, yeah, but we don't walk into into the mall and you walk by Hot Topic and see 1,000 Harley Quinn items.
Yeah, that's the truth. All right, well that's good to hear there. Okay, I guess we're making our way around here. Cliff, did you have anything else that you were reading here recently that you'd like to talk about?
I haven't picked it up yet, but that new Justice League versus Suicide Squad has my name on it with Max Lord.
Yeah, I remember hearing you guys talk about this on the Kapow podcast. You said you were interested. I don't know much about DC villains, so who's Max Lord?
Oh gosh, there's been a lot of different versions of him over the years. Max kind of came into play with the original Justice League International back in like '87-ish. He came along as the liaison, if I remember correctly, of between the Justice League and like the United Nations.
Okay,
and was a big part of the Justice League becoming a partner of the United Nations and kind of coming under their realm more or less at the time, who eventually became a villain in a couple different versions. But at one point he was the head of Checkmate. Then he had the whole thing with Brother Eye and killing off Ted Kord. And he's been around.
That's probably got a pretty bad connotation in a lot of people's, because Ted Kord was. You mentioned Blue Beetle. That's Ted Kord, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. And so this is the guy who got him killed.
This is the guy that killed him.
Oh, actually killed him. Okay.
Yes.
Didn't Wonder Woman turn his head around backwards?
Oh yeah, Wonder Woman took him out immediately.
I know. Okay, now I remember that storyline where she broke his neck on live TV, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
What was that? New 52 or not New 52, but
No.
What was that? It was I'm wanting to say 52.
No, this was Countdown to Infinite Crisis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that sound right?
It was one of the crises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max had developed mind control powers more or less, and at one point had control of Superman and was controlling Superman throughout the storyline. So that's
okay. I think I'm following you now. So you haven't had a chance to read it, but it's he's back. Obviously, this is a new 52 rendition of this guy. Or, well, we say that's gone now. We aren't back to the original universe. I'm so confused on DC, as if you couldn't tell.
Max has came back a few times over the years. He was dead, then he came back in the whole after Blackest Night. If you remember the Green Lantern storyline.
Yep.
And then which was followed by Brightest Day, and Max was one of the characters that kind of snuck his way back into the living through that.
Okay.
And then they did a whole run with a lot of the characters from the old JLI came back to battle Max at one point. It was a great story arc. The name of it was like a 6-issue special. The name escapes me, but it was really good also.
Ronnie, you were kind of chiming in there, Maxwell Lord. You got anything that sticks out in your mind other than him getting his neck broken?
No, that's pretty much it with him. Him just being, I don't want to say a poor man's Lex Luthor, but that's kind of what I viewed him as.
Justice League International. Did you ever read any Justice League International, Ronnie?
Very, very little.
Wasn't it like the comedy book, Cliff, or is that something different?
Yeah, it was kind of notorious for that. This was back in the Keith Giffen when he came aboard to do that, and the art was McGuire. But anyways, yeah, this was when Batman had taken over the league, and all your big players had left, and he was recruiting people like Dr. Fate and Shazam or Captain Marvel at the time, and eventually Guy Gardner, if you remember the One Punch.
Yep.
So they were, that was kind of my Justice League for a long time. But it was known because it had a lot of humor in it. The art especially was so detailed that you didn't get much in comics, and we certainly don't get now. But the facial expressions were really known at that time. It was just a great book. You had your buddies in Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, and then Max was always kind of conniving in the background, and you had Big Barda and Scott Free, Mr. Miracle, all at that time along running through the league. So it was a lot of fun. It came up, the Justice League was always so serious, and this kind of came when this came back around. It just made the stories were a lot more fun. They were a lot more character driven. I mean, who can forget Booster and Blue Beetle hiding Martian Manhunter's cookies and him chasing after them?
What in the world?
It's true.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I brought up a cover of one of the more iconic covers of Justice League International. So, who is the Plastic Man guy there in the background?
That's the elongated man?
Elongated man. Okay.
Ralph Dibny.
We see Booster Gold there, Martian Manhunter, Mr. Miracle. I'm trying to name.
You've got Rocket Red up in the corner. You've got Fire and Ice. Of course, they were around forever. Wally West. Captain Atom was always a big part. Supergirl. Later, Power Girl came into the fray. So, but you can see on this cover, this is a famous cover, but if you look at Guy Gardner's expression, that pretty much sums up Justice League International right there.
Yeah.
Who let these guys in?
A more powerful Great Lakes Avengers.
Now come on. Gee,
much more powerful.
I was going to say, wow. All right, very cool. I think if I remember having any Justice League books, I always felt like Justice League International was that one that was kind of like the knockoff. And so I never picked it up, and I never read any of it. And now I hear people talk about it. They're very, they look back on them with fond eyes. I've never read it. So one of these days I'd like to go back and actually pick some up.
There are some great storylines in those books. If you haven't read them, I would encourage you to pick up those paperbacks. They're great.
Cool. All right, we're going back around here. Ronnie Adams, anything else that you've been reading here recently?
Recently, I finished Death of X, where it's the Inhumans versus the X-Men.
Okay.
And it's a newer line where the Terrigen mists are there's two clouds that are going around the Earth, and if you have any kind of inhuman DNA inside you, the Terrigen will bring it out. You go into a cocoon, and first people are like terrified by it, but now people are like embracing it, and it comes to find out that something in the mist is causing mutants become sick and die, and of course Cyclops finds out that I can't remember, it was on Genosha or somewhere. Jamie Madrox, who was running with a handful of other mutants, he was the only one manning this place and running it, of course, because he's multiple man, but all of them have died, and they find a dying Jamie Madrox, and they go from you find out that the Cyclops, it's affecting him, but he comes back out and he's like, hey, listen, we need to stop this. So they gather up all the X-Men and then basically go to war against the Inhumans. And everybody's trying to talk him out of it, but Cyclops has, it's kind of like, after the Phoenix and there, he's killed Professor X, he's done all these horrible things, but he's trying to do something good for mutant kind. Okay. Is how they're playing it off, and he's got the blinders on, and he's like, this is the only way to stop it. So they create something. They turn the Terrigen Mist red from green to red, and it's no longer harmful to mutants, but it still holds that property. But they still get into a fight anyway with the Inhumans, and of course they bring out their big gun, Black Bolt.
Oh yeah,
Black Bolt screams, rips Cyclops to shreds, and kills him.
No.
Yeah, Cyclops is dead. So at the end, we find out that strike a deal that Hank McCoy is going to work for as a liaison for the Inhumans, between the mutants and the Inhumans, and then they have all these deals going on and everything, and it comes down to it where Emma Frost reveals that Cyclops actually succumbed to this sickness when he first got sick, and he died there.
Sickness.
Like he got sick from the Terrigen Mist.
Okay, I got you.
And he died there, and him fighting Black Bolt and everything was just a
way of killing himself?
No, he already died. It was Emma Frost making everybody think that they saw him.
No, so he's been dead for a while.
Yeah, and he was no longer, he was the idea. He stopped being Cyclops, and he was the idea of Cyclops, and that's what she ran with. And she ran with that to make everybody think that, to wake everybody up.
Now,
and
are they completely trying to get rid of mutants? Is that what this storyline's about? Like,
no, I think they're putting more of a focus on the Inhumans because they don't own the movie rights to the mutant anymore.
Yeah. That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, so they're putting more focus on the Inhumans and making them the new mutants of Marvel, because it's gone past what you saw in the past. It's gone past Black Bolt, Medusa, and all those into they're more. Their characters are becoming more mutant-like, in my opinion.
I predicted this was going to happen.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago, I said, "Watch, they're going to start phasing out all the non-owned Marvel properties out of the comic books, and they're going to have a synergy between the movies and the comic books." And what's happening?
You don't see Fantastic Four anymore. I mean, you see some. I think Ben Grimm's out.
Ben Grimm's with Guardians of the Galaxy. Johnny Storm is an Inhuman liaison, and that's pretty much it.
The rest of them, like Sue and Reed, are on some alternate dimension, like creating worlds or something, aren't they? And then Franklin and Valeria are out there. So, well, I think I've griped enough about how I hate to see that happen. I hate to see Marvel take properties that they had. I mean, we're not talking like 10 years here. We are talking multiple decades of stories written about the Fantastic Four, written about the X-Men, and then they're like, oh, well, we're going where the money's at. I don't like it. Don't like it. So anything else exciting happening there?
I don't know. It's kind of weird to see if Cyclops is actually going to stay dead or not.
There's already another one out there.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, I don't know if you knew this or not, but there's actually a Cyclops from
the past.
Yeah. What was the name of the storyline? Help me out. Is it all new X-Men?
I think so.
Okay.
Basically, they brought the five, or the original 4 or 5 X-Men back from the past, and it's all the young X-Men. It's Iceman, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, and Angel. I know Angel, Cyclops, and Jean Grey are still around. I'm not sure what happened to Iceman and Angel. I mean, Iceman and Beast. But they pretty much they call him Young Angel now. The young Cyclops is dealing with, is he going to become a murderer? Is he going to become this crazed, power crazed person that is totally not him? And then it was kind of interesting, but then it kind of got too much for me. But Jean Grey, I mean, they've got all these characters that are dead, but they have an alternate version of them. Mm-hmm. Like Jean Grey, like Cyclops now, and with Wolverine, they've got Old Man Logan, who's a part of the the Avengers. But he's from the Old Man Logan storyline, that alternate universe. He's dealing with his memories from that, trying to fit into this present, and because we know all of that Logan died. So at the end of Death of Wolverine, he was covered in molten adamantium and suffocated. Mm-hmm. They even took Old Man Logan to see his his body to prove that he's not, and it's not Mysterio or anybody else trying to fool him. But there's rumors that they're going to bring the regular Logan back.
Really?
Yeah. It's just rumors though. By the end of this year or next year, that they're going to try to work him back into the continuity. But that's just, like I said, it's just rumors. I don't know how true it's going to be, but it'd be interesting to see how they're going to do that. So it's interesting to see if Cyclops stays dead, because if I'm not mistaken, he's died a couple of times before.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's switch this up. All right, this is going to be the last question of the evening, and then we'll call it an evening.
I do have to point out one thing though.
Oh, please.
Uncle Ben.
Okay.
Is the only.
Don't go and sit there and say something that you're going to regret saying.
No, he's the only character that they haven't given a fair shake to by bringing him back.
Oh, here's the thing. I was speaking with Josh Calandros a couple nights ago. Mm-hmm. He's talking to me about Cliff Barnes' favorite character, Spider-Man.
Oh yes.
Just kidding. By the way,
it.
Cliff hates Spider-Man. Just to let you guys know. He makes no bones about it.
I don't hate Spider-Man, but my other co-hosts have made a running joke that apparently I hate Spider-Man because he's not my favorite.
Wait a second. The last episode I heard was you saying, "Yeah, I watched Civil War, except I fast-forwarded through the parts when Spider-Man was on."
Oh, come on!
Came out of your mouth.
I play along quite well with the joke.
Quote unquote play along.
Quote unquote. Think.
Josh says that in Dead No More. Have you heard anything about this storyline, Ronnie?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Apparently, Dead No More is running through Spider-Man right now, and the other subtitle or whatever part of this crossover event / thing in Spider-Man is, I think, the Clone Conspiracy. Mm-hmm. So apparently, the Jackal has perfected this formula to actually clone people and give them somehow with their DNA, it gives them all the memories of the original person. So one of the final issues that he read was the Jackal looked at him and said, looked at Spider-Man, looked at Peter Parker and says, you can have your Uncle Ben back if you join me. And that was the cliffhanger of the issue. So be prepared. There was also, it's going to happen. It's probably going to happen. Apparently, Gwen Stacy's going to be on the board as well.
And she already is.
Well, are you talking Spider-Gwen, or are you talking Ultimate Spider-Man Gwen Stacy, or?
Yes, all of it. All of the above.
All the above, A, B, C, and D. So anyway, Uncle Ben's going to possibly now. See, you just said give him a fair shake, and now you're sighing.
Yeah, no, no, I'm totally down with it, but it's
no,
just,
you're not. I don't. Don't try and kid me, Ronnie Adams.
Well, apparently, I don't know what I'm thinking.
That's what I'm here for. Let you know what you're thinking. Well, I would imagine that anything with the tagline, clone, whatever, on Spider-Man, just people would be crapping over. But according to Josh, it's been pretty good storyline. So anyway, okay, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to switch this up. All right, we're going to start with Mark, and then we'll make our way to Cliff, and then we'll make our way to Ronnie, and then we'll close the night out. Mark Radulich, we've talked about what you're reading right now. Is there? You may have already mentioned it, but what is the one book that you want to get your hands on and read next?
Funny you should mention that. I'm actually working on that now as we're talking.
Amazon wish list.
Yep.
If Mark's not doing a list of some sorts while I'm on the podcast with him, it's not a podcast. Okay. Playlist, right. Wish lists, shit lists.
So a couple. You've made my shit list. Well, yeah, God, if you're gonna put it that way, I'm just gonna reading off my wish list. No. I will stick to one thing, and it'll actually relate to something I just finished reading. Everyone's probably listening to this podcast has already probably read it, familiar with it. I don't need to get into it at all. But a couple of years back, Sean Comer hit me to the Jeff Johns run of Green Lantern comics and gave me basically a reading list, which I have since lost. But it's on Reddit. It's in a couple of different other places, but it's the entire Jeff Johns run of collected works for Green Lantern, from Rebirth down to War of the Green Lanterns Aftermath. So I said, okay, I've heard the Jeff Johns run on Green Lantern is absolutely fantastic. I have 2 of the books on my Kindle. I've read one of them so far, and I just reread it again tonight. That was Green Lantern Rebirth. So the next one I have to read is No Fear. But as far as things that I have like a whole pile of books that I had from last year and that I got around Christmas time this year that I'm going to work through. But in terms of some stuff that I want to get my hands on, I eventually want to get the entire Jeff Johns run that I just went over. Recharge, Revenge of the Green Lanterns, To Be a Lantern, Wanted, Hal Jordan, Dark Side of Green, Mystery of the Star Sapphire, Sinestro Corpse War, Ring Quest, Secret Origin, Rage of the Red Lanterns, Sins of the Star Sapphires, Agent Orange, Emerald Eclipse, Blackest Night, Brightest Day, War of the Green Lanterns, and Aftermath.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty lengthy list, a lot of reading. It's going to take me a while to kind of get through all of this stuff. I ain't rich. So, and I actually don't. Now, these are all available on Kindle, but as I'm discovering, I have to sit at my computer in order to read comic books on the Kindle, because if I try to do it on my phone, it hurts my eyes and I can't see the print because I'm an old man, apparently. Also, like the Kindle app for my iPhone doesn't magnify anything. So like I said,
that's lame.
Yeah, it's really a pain in the ass. So the Kindle, the Cloud Kindle app for your computer, you can, that'll magnify the panels, so it's a little bit easier to read. But I don't necessarily always want to be reading at my computer. So I'm gonna buy this is the one instance where I'm gonna allow myself to buy physical media, because you don't know this, sir. From the Kapow podcast, but I refuse to buy anything physical anymore. As Jesse has heard me rant about this, I am slouching towards minimalism, but I'm going to allow myself to buy physical. I'm going to allow myself to buy physical comic books, and I'm eventually going to get all of these Green Lantern books.
I myself am pretty old school when it comes to still going. Of course, we have a local comic book store here in town in Marietta that my buddy Jordan Lowe owns. So I can't get on the digital stuff yet. I still like to go in and smell the books and have a conversation about with whoever's in the store, whether it be Jesse or some of our other listeners around the area of this show and some of our shows. And I just like to get in there. I got to touch that book still.
Well,
I'm okay with comic books, but all the non nonfiction regular books that I read, with the exception of The Princess Diaries by Carrie Fisher. Yeah, that's all I'm buying on Kindle. I will never buy a physical book again in my life.
I got you. It's a little different. Yeah. And I will say I read through a lot of that Jeff Johns Green Lantern, and when we got into the Blackest, I loved Blackest Night. Collected all of that. That's a great read. And then everything that happened after that, with all the different colored lanterns, I loved Larfleeze. Agent Orange was great. I still love that character in DC. But there's a lot of really good stuff there.
I can remember reading Rebirth myself a few years back and being really surprised at enjoying a Green Lantern book. I don't know what possessed me to bring it up. I think a lot of times, usually I was finding myself at the library grabbing whatever I could to read, and that's that happened to be one of the ones I put on hold. I really enjoyed it. So, Mark, I think you're in for you're going to be very surprised, and you're going to enjoy what you read. Did you say you already went through Rebirth already, or are you in the process of doing it, or have you even got it?
I finished Rebirth. I'm going to start. I'm going to work in No Fear next, but I'm also going to start the DC Dark Horse Comics Aliens graphic novel that I bought. And eventually, because we're going to be doing shows on them, I got to get to Batman 66, Wolverine Old Man Logan, and Iron Fist Living Weapon Volume 1 and 2. Yeah. One last thing I wanted to just briefly mention. Mark Andreyko is one of the few writers I am familiar with, but I'm not familiar with his writing. I'm familiar with his personality on the Movie Fights podcast, which I'm a big fan of, and I mention all the time. So he's on there quite a bit, and he's actually writing a Wonder Woman 77 comic. I'm going to start picking up volumes of that just because I want to read some of his work. And I'm looking at what he's written so far, and that's about the only thing I'm interested in.
All right. Very good. All right. Cliff Barnes from the Kapow podcast. What are you looking forward to? What do you want to get your hands on and read? You got anything other than this Maxwell Lord comic you were talking about? Anything else?
Yeah, that's going to be the big one right now is getting into, I think it's a six-issue arc with Suicide Squad versus the Justice League, and getting into that. Then I actually am kind of interested in that the Green Lantern Planet of the Apes crossover. That'll be I think that just looks hilarious if you've seen some of the promotional art for it. I'm a big DC guy. You never know what I pick up things here and there. It's got to be certain character really hit me in a certain spot for me to pick up a whole run of something anymore. But I have been reading a little bit of the new Blue Beetle book that's out since Rebirth. I'm going to continue on with that.
Are they doing that character all right? I mean, do you feel that he's being represented well, and do you feel that Blue Beetle's being represented well in what's being written?
Well, I've always liked the new Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes. Okay. But this book actually has Jaime and Ted Cord featured in it.
Okay.
Ted's got a little bit different of a role, but it's Ted. He's got the bug, if you're not familiar with that. His kind of space car flying machine. It's got all that in it, so it's pretty good. I've heard good things about the new Green Arrow since Rebirth. I've picked up a couple issues here and there, but Black Canary's back. I've heard really good things about that. I may pick up some of that. And I'm going to continue on with the IDW, the Revolution, as it continues on. I want to see. I'm an '80s kid at heart. I want to continue on with the Mass storyline and some of the GI Joe. Even I think Rom. If you haven't been reading Rom, pick up Rom. You talk about a character that was around Marvel, years and years ago. He's back at IDW over there now with Hasbro, but there's some great storylines in there. It's Rom. If you don't know Rom, pick up that. He's fighting Dire Race still. Even in the Revolution, we're fighting the Dire Race. So all of that, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Ronnie Adams, what do you want to get your hands on, dude?
Now I want to get my hands on the He-Man
Thundercats.
Thundercats.
I'm telling you, dude, it's
really,
been pretty,
really good.
Yeah, people have been really talking it up, so I can't wait to read some of it too.
There's 3 issues out right now with that, and I will tell you there are at least 2 shocking, and I mean shocking moments in it. The end of issue 3, there's a funeral, and it's it'll break your heart a little bit to that 8-year-old kid in you.
Oh man, dang. Anything else, Ronnie?
No.
All right, good answer.
Yeah, I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm sure there will be in the near future. Like I said, I've been kind of taking a break.
Sure.
Financially wise, from comic books. But I would like to see how this, I'd like to get my hands on Olive Rebirth. Just because I didn't give it a fair shake in the beginning, I was just not interested in it. So I would like to do that, to read that. I'm still reading Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, dude. How is it getting good?
Yeah.
Because I remember a while back it wasn't. Yeah, people were kind of talking down on it, but did he plan? Is he planning an ending to that?
Always planning an ending.
So he's ready to end it, or what? What are you saying?
I don't know if he's ready to end it, but he's always talking about an ending. That's what they're going to. It's what they're building up to. So, I mean, as much as we want them to, these books aren't going to last forever, and the TV show's not going to last forever. So they're always, looking for an ending.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how he's going to do it, when he's going to do it, if he's going to do it. But he always, I just remember him saying that, Walking Dead will be around forever, and that's what he said. And he kind of got himself, he said he admitted to getting himself, painting himself into a corner with that because, it's around forever. He's not going to be, and it might get stale,
How about Invincible?
I don't want to talk about Invincible.
Now that is actually coming to an end for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Now that's sad. It hasn't ended.
No, it hasn't. Not to my knowledge, because Invincible, unfortunately, is one of those books that falls by the wayside for him. And understandably, because he writes 16 other books at one time and produces a TV show, and so I haven't really been keeping up with it because it was one of those things that I pick up whenever Invincible's out. I never know when it's actually going to come out. It went from a bi-monthly book or bi-weekly book to a bi-monthly book, and so it's one of those things where I just kind of gave up on it, which I shouldn't have. And just went with, hey, when it comes out, it comes out.
Okay, I hear you. Well, I brought up this
Invincible.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead, Cliff.
Is Invincible? Is that going to be included in that 25th anniversary of Image where they're doing like quarter issues?
Oh, I haven't heard. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think they're putting a lot of titles out there for the 25-cent ones, but I can't remember specifically which ones. Man, that's
what a great promotion that is.
That's exactly what I was going to say. When you have a company that has been around for 25 years and they really shook up the market a while back, which, by the way, I watched the documentary on the Image Founders, which is on Amazon Prime, right? Yeah. Wow. These guys, I actually tweeted the director, the guy who put that documentary together, and I said, thanks for putting this out there so we could all, there was footage from like old school stuff back when Image was getting started. And of course, Rob Liefeld's impression of just about anybody was probably some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, 25 cents for an issue of for a comic book. That's
unheard of.
That's a great promotion.
Especially today with Marvel taking away the digital copies. that they added, and now we've got Image out there, so they're going to sell issues for 25 cents.
Good. That should show Marvel. Put them in their place, for Pete's sake.
That's just ridiculous. I mean, because I went completely digital because in my area there's not a real great brick and mortar place. Local comic book shop. I mean, I've been looking. I've seen places. I could. The closest one that I'm aware of is 25 to 30 minutes away, and books being $3.99. And gas being the price that it is right now. I know I sound like old and curmudgeon-y, but it's a lot of money, man.
Hey, Mark, do you collect individual issues by chance at all?
No.
Okay. You sound like a complete trade guy to me. So, I mean, I've never heard you say, "Yeah, I'm definitely getting this one issue by issue." I assume the last one you were collecting issue by issue was Hulk, right?
Yeah. Well, a couple things happened at the same time. I followed the Hulk Doc Green series. I know it wasn't called Doc Green, but when I got back into comics, they were in the Marvel Now, I think, relaunch. So I read the Indestructible Hulk, and then they ended it, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Then they started the next Hulk series, and that became the Doc Green. And I'm like, "Oh, this is great." Oh, they're gonna end it again. And it was like, okay, we're going to do Secret Wars and end everything and restart it. And I'm like, this is why I quit reading comics in the 90s. It's happening again.
No, you'll be saying that till the end of time, I swear, man.
Yeah.
I read through Secret Wars. I read, we talked about the Wars proper. And I read the Spider-Man one where he has the kid. Oh, God, what was the name of that?
Brand new day.
No.
No.
Renew your vows.
Renew your vows.
Yep.
There's so many.
My dad actually read that too. We were reading it together. He briefly got back into comic books too. We both sort of had the same we're done with this. But I'll get to that in a second. We read Renew Your Vows. I read Planet Hulk. I read a couple of different select titles. There was the other Hulk. Oh, I read the one with Maestro. Gosh, what was the name of that one?
That we covered that one, didn't we?
Yeah.
Damn it, I can't remember either. Future Imperfect.
Future Imperfect. Right. And then they all ended. I guess as they were meant to. These were only supposed to be limited series. I read the Avengers, the Chick Avengers one.
A-Force?
That'd be the one.
A-Force, Chick Avengers.
I remember the broads and them running around and doing stuff.
I'm married and have a daughter that I'm very proud of. I just want to say that right off the bat. Anyway, so I read that book with the whole superheroes. And anywho.
Gosh. We'll take it up a level, take it right back down. Up again, right back down.
I like to make them laugh. Anywho, getting to the point of the story. And it was like, okay, they turned everything upside down, and they ended everything that I was really into. They ended this whole Secret Wars thing, and they relaunched everything. And at that point, I'm like, this is costing me too much money. I don't like what they're doing. I don't really want to. I just want to read good stories. There's like 100 years of comics with good stories collected into trade paperbacks. I'm just going to pick up the ones that I like, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's what I do now. Just sitting in front of me, I've got the Star Wars Darth Vader Volume 1, Wonder Woman by Greg Rucka Volume 1, Poison Ivy, The Cycle of Light and Death, The Joker, Clown Crime, Flashpoint, Iron Fist, Old Man Logan, Batman 66 Volume 1, and Aliens. And, plus I've got a whole stack of stuff that I haven't gotten to from last year. So
have you read, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, it's fine.
Have you read Old Man Logan?
Nope. I know that Hulk is rapey, and it's just the whole sad story. But it's the basis, at least on some level, for the Logan movie coming out. So I'm going to force myself to get through this nonsense so that we can talk about it during Wolverine Week, coming to the Rattlegion Broadcasting Network this March.
That's right.
I enjoyed it for what it was. It was definitely an alternate timeline, and I'm just curious as to what you think of it because you're a Hulk fan, and it was definitely different.
Well, it's going to be a fun discussion when we have that podcast. Yeah. I look forward to that. That's the same guy that wrote Civil War, right, Ronnie? Mark Millar?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Okay, that's the name that's coming into my mind. I could be wrong. But, all right. Well, I guess what we're going to do is end this podcast right here, right now, and let's do plugs. So I'm going to start with Cliff Barnes of the Kapow podcast, sir. You plug your stuff, dude.
Oh gosh, where do we start? www.udownwithkpp.com. That's where you'll find. And why does everybody always laugh?
That's phenomenal.
It's the greatest. Phenomenal. It's the greatest.
I love it.
Yeah, that's where you can find our Kapow, the Pop Culture Podcast, along with myself, the illustrious Michael K. Easton, Jordan Lowe, the Grand Poobah, or Seth as we call him. We're dropping a new episode tomorrow. Should be tomorrow. It's a lot of fun. Just a regular episode. We're at the Kapow Podcast on Twitter. You can find me at Ohio Cliff Barnes on Twitter. I've got the Mickey Bars podcast I do with my wonderful, beautiful wife, Alicia. It's a Disney podcast. You can find us at www.mickeybars.podbean.com. Just search for Mickey Bars on Facebook. Same with Kapow, the Pop Culture Podcast. I think we're at You Down with KPP on Facebook. And I think that's pretty much it these days.
All right. Very cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, man. I hope you had a good time, and I value your input. Can't wait to get this out there on the network.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me. Sorry I was late. I had things happening, and I kind of came into it unprepared. I know, Jesse, you do a lot of preparation for your shows.
Sure.
And I'm sure you expect everybody to come prepared as a guest.
Sure. You go ahead. Just keep me up there on that.
Yeah. So those if you listen to Jesse's show here, Source Material, and you listen to our show, by any chance, you'll know we often refer to our Jessies or Jesse or the OG Jesse. That all started. That's what we call our listeners now. It just kind of happened. We just referred to them as Jessies. So Jesse Starcher, the original, listener to our show, always great. Appreciate it. Anything you're always talking up our show, I know. So much thanks there.
Absolutely. Proud to be the OG Jesse. That is an honor. That is an honor. All right, Ronnie Adams, Screaming Boy Podcast. What do you have to plug, sir?
Screaming Boy Podcast. We are nerd culture podcasts, comics. Not so much, but we leave that to Source Material. But movies, TV shows, video games, comic books. Hopefully, we're gonna have football on there soon, or sports. Period. Talking to Josh Calandris about that one, Josh, and Jason Teasley, I guess. He's working on something, and not I guess, but he is working on something. But just anything and everything. We talk about just anything that has to do with the nerd lifestyle. We had the Great American Wish Book for Christmas. We had we looked over the year-end review kind of a deal, nerd culture icons and people that we've loved that we lost over the year of 2016, the year of sadness, as we call it. But really, honestly, we lost more in 15 than we did 16, but it was just more, it struck us a little more because, people like Prince and George Michael and Carrie Fisher and Kenny Baker, people like that, it passed away. I know that they did a Prince collect, on the Radlich and Broadcasting Network, which was phenomenal.
Prince tribute, yeah.
Prince tribute. It was great. It was, so please look that one up. And then we also have incorporated into our show live streaming video games. We did our first one. We're still experimenting with it. So we're broadcasting at 2 different places, sometimes 3. We do YouTube and Twitch, and hopefully we might be able to.
I was just thinking about Outlast, man.
Yeah. So the first game we did was Outlast, and it is a video game. It's a horror video game. So we did a kind of a reaction video to it, and it is one of the scariest games I've played in a while. Second only to Alien, the Alien game, where you absolutely cannot win that game. So you play a reporter who has to go to this mental institution, and you pee yourself while you're playing it, and it's one of those. I was a little girl though. My girlfriend told me to man up during it.
Nice.
That I would beast this game, and I'm like, you just don't know. She's like, no, man up, and I'm like,
Couldn't help but notice, but I think you played the game with your lights on, correct?
Scaredy cat. If I didn't have a light on, you would not be able to see me.
We would have been able to hear your girly screams.
You know what? Jesse, you play it. I'm bringing everything to you.
I'm staying with my Mortal Kombat.
Right, and you're scared of that. But anyway, so we've incorporated
in space.
that.
No one can hear you scream.
Right. And apparently in this institution, no one can hear you scream either. No, they can hear you scream. It just matches the other screams that are going on. I'm sure my neighbors around me thought I was being murdered.
Wow. Nice.
But just little things like the door shutting and somebody running out of nowhere with a board 2x4 with nails in it trying to bash your skull in. It's kind of terrifying. Yeah. So we played it on normal. So the next one is going to be the nightmare level. Just to get some more laughs out of it, but we're going to be incorporating some more gameplay into it, some cooperative games. We're going to do a Battlefield one and a few others.
Cool.
So it's going to be a lot of fun doing that. So I think we're playing another one this week. Hopefully, Adam, if you're listening, we're playing another one for this week. Because right now we're not, we're planning some shows ahead of time. Coming up, we're going to be going over, we've given everybody enough time, so we're going to be talking about Rogue One. So we're going to, that way we don't spoil the heck out of it for everyone. But so we're just going to talk about Star Wars lore and how Rogue One fits into it, and about the movie itself. And then so that's coming up within a week, or so. And so you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and the Radio Lichen Broadcasting Network, amongst all these other shows that are amazing. You can find us on almost every bit of social media outside of Google+. You can find us on Facebook. Just search Screaming Boy Podcast. You can, Instagram, Screaming Boy Podcast, Twitter, Screaming Boy PR. And then that's pretty much it. www.areyoudownwith.svp.com. No, it's
it's catching on.
www.screamingboy.com.
Funny thing, just as a real quick aside, Ronnie Adams and the Scream Boy podcast and the Kapow podcast, there is a link between you two, and that is your intro. The same guy does your guys' awesome intros.
Oh, who you got dual core to do yours?
No, it wasn't dual core.
No idea.
What was the previous guy you had?
It was on Fiverr?
I think it was. I think it's got to be. Anyway,
we have a new intro. We just do music now, and it's from dual core.
Yeah, I've heard.
I forgot. That's right. Yeah. You moved on. Moved on, and well. Anyway, there's a connection there. Just trust me. Yeah,
Dual Core is an amazing nerdcore rapper, and he's really good. We use his song. He gave us the go ahead to use the song "Fantastic Four," which usually there's 4 of us on the show to do. Nice. Yeah, so that's kind of why I planned it out like that. And it's just an incredible song too. So we use Dual Core's "Fantastic Four" as our intro theme now.
Many props. All right. So you guys have all heard the term "mark the schedule." Mark.
Yep.
The schedule.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and first plug something That's very first. Let me actually, before I say anything else, let me just say I have already liked your Facebook page, sir, for Mickey Bars. I have downloaded the Podbean app, and I have downloaded your first podcast. So I am ready to go with this thing. Whatever you may think of me and the nonsense I've said on this show, I am a fan of you. So
That's awesome. Now I will warn you: those first couple episodes, I would say maybe just skip to like episode 4 because the first couple are a little rough.
that's okay. But you've gotten a good dose of me tonight. I'm sure whatever you did is fine. I would like to remind you again that I am married and have a daughter. This is a gimmick. Not really. Anyway, speaking of gimmicks, what I'd like to promote right now, something very exciting happening on the Rad Religion Broadcasting Network in 2020. We will be doing July of 2020, will be marking the release of the Green Lanterns Corps movie from the DC Cinematic Universe. And so we will, in celebration of that, we will have Green Lantern Week on the Rad Religion Broadcasting Network, where we will be concluding our 4-year look at the entire Jeff Johns run.
4-year.
Okay. We're starting it in 2017 with Rebirth, which Gavin Napier will be on source material for. Right, Jesse?
Sure.
In 2020.
And then we'll continue. We'll do a few books this year, and then we'll do them in 2018 and 2019, and we will conclude the Jeff Johns run in 2020 in the run-up to Jeff Johns to Green Lantern Week, and then on Damn You Hollywood, we'll review Green Lantern Corps, and then Metal Hammer of Doom will probably not do anything Green Lantern related, probably, unless somebody releases some sort of metal Green Lantern album that I find somewhere. And then on that Thursday...
Did I hear gunshots?
If you did, it's Jesse.
What is going on?
I might have played the shotgun sound effect off YouTube as he was going through the schedule.
And then on Thursday, we will put the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie on trial. So tune into that in 2020.
My goodness.
That's 3 years down the road.
Don't give him a Google app for the calendar. Just don't do it, or it will be. Yes, it doesn't surprise me. It'll be there. He's already got it on there, I imagine. I haven't got a notification yet, but it'll happen.
What makes me laugh about all this is I've now committed you to 3 years worth of doing a podcast against your will, possibly. Like I had planned to quit this at some point. Well, not before 2020, you won't.
Yeah, I'm afraid your resignation will be denied, sir.
Suck it up, Starcher. You got some work to do.
Yeah, for the job I don't pay you for. But seriously, folks, God, I wish I was kidding about any of that. Let's get back to 2017, the year we're currently in. This week on the Rad Religion Broadcasting Network, if you can't wait to 2020 to listen to some stuff, we've got TV Party Tonight tomorrow. I'll be having Adrienne Wagner, who's a coworker of mine. It'll be her first podcast ever. Fun story about that, Jesse. She messaged me earlier today saying, "Hey, what time are we recording?" And I said probably about between 9 and 10, whenever you're available. I guess it's not that big of a deal. And she goes, "I'm gonna have my kids with me. Is that okay?"
Ooh.
And I'm like, "The fuck? Yeah, I don't. What? Do put a movie on. I don't care. Just be have quiet around you or whatever when we're talking."
And we're not that professional.
And she's starting to ask me more questions, and I'm suddenly realizing she thinks she has to come to my house to do this.
Uh-oh.
And I'm
well,
and I'm like,
it's all online. We're in a digital age.
First of all, it's 2017. No one's getting into my house after sundown. Fuck that shit.
As soon as I'm home, pants are off. Headsets.
The doors are locked.
Yeah, there you go.
We're done here, sir. And I was like, dude, I call her dude. Dude, you gotta call on a phone or through Skype. Half the people I podcast with live in other states. That's not how this works. It's talk radio. Don't you understand what we're doing? And she's like, "Oh, okay, I got it now." I'm like, "Oh boy." So,
yeah, that's weird.
you think you got troubles? My goodness. We're gonna have a podcast newbie coming on to talk about Netflix's 4-part series based on the Michael Pollan book Cooked, the TV show by the same name, Cooked. So that'll be Tuesday night, 10 o'clock. And if you missed it, it'll be in the archives on the Rattlevision Broadcasting Network. Metal Hammer of Doom this week, Wednesday, we'll be reviewing the new Sepultura album, Machine Messiah. And then on Thursday, the debut of a new show, Because, remember, Made Me, and this Gavin Made Me, we'll be reviewing There Will Be Blood, which I actually really, really liked. Next week, actually, if you're hearing this when it actually airs, all of that happened last week. This week, the TV party we'll be focusing on is Voltron Legendary Defender Season 2. Metal Hammer of Doom will be reviewing Firewind Immortals, and we'll have another on trial. This week is my pick. It will be Inception. And what did we decide? I believe we decided that I'll be defending Inception. I haven't even seen this movie yet. I've never seen it before. It's just Christopher Nolan's psychedelic LSD party on crack. It was just not something I was interested in watching. But my brother-in-law, like the first year I met him and was involved with my wife and girlfriend, was like, got it for me for Christmas and was like, you have to watch this movie. Tell me what you think of it. That was fucking like 8 years ago.
You still haven't watched it.
He's still mad at me about it. He's like, when are you going to watch Inception? I'm like, oh, you tell me what to do. You ain't the boss of me. So I thought this would be a good time to finally do that. So I can finally tell him, Brenton, I watched your movie. I watched Inception. And then I had to defend it, regardless of what my actual opinion is. So that'll be fun. And lastly, Pat Mullen and I are finally getting to Fuller House Season 2 on the 31st of January. And Metal Hammer of Doom will be reviewing Creator Gods of Violence. So that's pretty much all our shows in January so far.
All right. Very good. Well, this has been Source Materials 2017 Whatcha Readin. I want to thank my guests for coming on here. Cliff Barnes, Mark Radulich, Ronnie Adams. We're going to be out of here in 3, 2, 1. Everybody have a great one.